Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event with CircuitStream and the University of Melbourne. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Before we get going with the official event, I always just like to double check and make sure that everybody can see me okay, everybody can hear me okay. We did a little bit of a test in advance, but always just like to double check. Edward says hello. I'm assuming you guys can see me and hear me okay if that is the case. Callum, hello. Nikki, hi. Oscar, hello. Peter, hi. Maybe can somebody give me awesome. I can see in here. There's also emojis enabled for this. There's a little react button on in the bottom center there. So feel free to give me thumbs up or any sort of reactions when I'm talking there. So I kind of know what's people can hear me and see me. Amazing. Hello. I also like to double check and see where everybody is joining us from. I am personally from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. As you can see, it is dark outside here. It's probably a little bit different in Australia right now. I'm assuming it's a little bit earlier in the morning. But yes, share in the chat where everybody is joining us from. And also, actually, I can make you familiar with the platform that we're on here. So in the bottom right corner, there is the chat log. Beside that, we have the questions tab. And beside that, we have the polls tab. So feel free. There's one poll. I believe it is being published right now. In fact, I know it is because I just hit the publish button when I said that. And there is a questions tab. So we're going to have a little bit of time set aside at the end of this event for some Q&A. If you have any questions for any of these speakers who are joining us today or for us at CircuitStream or about the partnership with the university, feel free to put those into the to the questions chat tab, and we will go over that at the end of the event. And then the chat log, of course, just utilize that throughout the event as well. You can chat with us, the team members. You can chat with the speakers, anybody. I can see Melbourne, Tasmania, Adelaide, Perth. Amazing. I was hoping it was going to be mostly Australia joining us here today. I am also going to share some links in the chat really quickly right now. I sent out an email in advance. Everyone who registered for this event should have received it, but we just included the download to the course syllabus for the game development course. So just assist you in kind of understanding a little bit of the content better. So feel free, if you didn't already do that. Those are the three syllabi that we have here with through the partnership. The bottom link is the Game Development Bootcamp, and the top two links are for the XR Development course and the XR Design course. So if you're interested in any of those areas, feel free to go ahead and download the syllabus and get a better understanding of what we are offering through this partnership. And after all that, I'm going to officially start here, and I will introduce myself. So my name is Tyler. I am the Marketing Events Manager at CircuitStream. I've been with this company for just over 2 years. I guess it's actually getting closer to about 2.5 years now. Thank you to whoever just made my screen big for me. Yes, I've been with the company for just over 2 years. I'm a video game enthusiast. I always laugh. I say I'm a senior Fortnite player, but realistically, I like any types of video games are usually fun for me. We will have several guest speakers joining us here today in a few minutes. I'm going to invite them up in not too long. I'm just going to share a little bit of information before we get there. But the first will be Robert Walkley. Robert is the Chief Technology Officer at Hipster Whale. He's actually going to be joined by several of his colleagues from Hipster Whale, including Shane Triwartha, level designer, Alice Newhouse, a 3D artist, and Alice Walsh, an art director at Hipster Whale. So they will be up on stage in just a few minutes. We also have a second main speaker coming through here today, Derek Johnson. Derek is the lead programmer at Tantalus Studios, which of course is a Keywords studio. He will be sharing a bit more of in his presentation on his experience, his current role, any advice, tips, and tricks that he might have for people looking to break into the industry. So I will invite those speakers up in just a few minutes. Before I invite them on stage, I just wanted to share a little bit of information, give you a little bit of background on CircuitStream. So we began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators who are pioneering the virtual and augmented reality ecosystem. CircuitStream saw a need for education and training that would empower people to build Unity and XR applications and advance the industry's frontiers. We've come quite a way since then. We now partner with the industry-leading companies and leading educational institutions like the University of Melbourne to offer courses and training for those looking to learn more about emerging technologies like game development, XR development, and XR design. I should pause really quick and mention all of this presentation is going to be emailed and shared with all of the registrants here today. So feel free to take notes, feel free to write down anything that you like as you go through, but we will send a copy of this full presentation to everybody afterwards. So if there's any stats or anything that you're interested in, you will get a copy of that, so you can have it there. So in terms of the partnership with the University of Melbourne and CircuitStream, collaboration between education companies and research institutions fosters innovation and provides students with access to high quality education and resources. Industry relevant curriculums that are aligned with current industry trends and demands ensure that students receive education that is important for their future careers. Universities are hubs of academic and professional networks, providing students with the opportunity to connect with their peers, connect with professors, and connect with professionals from various fields. So this partnership with the University of Melbourne basically adds this list to the partnerships of top global universities that CircuitStream is currently working with to deliver XR and game development education. So I'm going to share a little bit of information on the XR and on the gaming industries in Australia. So for those curious of what XR is, some people may not know. XR, well, some people may have heard the recent buzz around like the new Apple headset maybe, or the Meta Quest 3. Both of those releases were earlier this year. But for anybody who's interested, XR stands for extended reality. This encompasses virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. The XR industry has grown immensely in the last few years and has made its way into a wide range of other industries such as gaming, film, music, manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and many, many more. Many companies are using XR for training simulations, for interactive customer experiences, project visualization, learning experiences, product development, virtual tours, and so on and so forth. So XR is incredibly important right now and basically just expanding in every direction is the takeaway there. The primary roles in XR are usually grouped into either design or development. I'll share a few differences here between the two, just so people can kind of, if you're interested and you're not sure which way to go, this might help you make that decision. XR designers are primarily responsible for conceptualizing ideas and experiences, planning visuals through storyboarding and prototyping to ensure the optimal user experiences. On the other hand, the XR developers take those design blueprints and implement them to build XR apps or experiences and utilize coding to bring it to life for the end users. So developers and designers usually end up working pretty closely together, or we do have some people that come through our courses and they like to take both sides so that they have an understanding on both sides. My only recommendation there is if you are looking at learning both XR development and design, maybe just pace yourself and don't try to take them both on at the exact same time. But incredibly important to understand both sides of it, especially if you're looking at working in both areas. And the University of Melbourne now offers courses in both of these areas, so both in XR development and in XR design. The XR industry in Australia is consistently gaining momentum with increased adoption in sectors such as gaming, entertainment, healthcare, and architecture. Again, there's some stats on the screen here. If anybody's interested in these numbers, I will be sharing a copy of this presentation with everybody afterwards. So, but feel free to write down any of this as well as we go through. XR is increasingly being used in education and training programs. Schools, universities, and businesses are leveraging VR and AR technologies to create interactive learning experiences and realistic training simulations as well. Now on to the gaming industry, which is a little bit more of the main focus of today's event. Australia has a very thriving game development scene. Opportunities exist for developers to create and publish their games, whether for PC, console, mobile, or VR platforms. There are currently over 2,100 game studios located in Australia alone, with a 69% increase in hiring and a $284.4 million income income generated from these studios, which is insane. So, and it's just going to continue to grow. So if you're looking to break into these industries, now is definitely a good time. Becoming a game developer can be a rewarding career choice for individuals who are passionate about gaming and for those who have a flair for creative and interactive experiences, problem solving, and technology overall. On screen right now, you can just see some of the top reasons why people would choose to work as game developers. And speaking of careers in the game industry, I would like to just take a moment here and invite Circuit Stream's Student Outcome Manager, Wanai, on stage for a few minutes. Wanai is going to share some information on our career development plan. So welcome, Wanai.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, so student coaching is at the heart of our program. From day one, we'll be there to provide guidance through career coaching, group workshops, one-on-one sessions, and guest lectures. The career component of the program runs concurrently with the technical training, and some of the topics that we cover include self-discovery, market research, personal branding, digital presence, job search, interviews, and pitch day prep. And just a special mention of our pitch day. Pitch day is the culmination of our career program, where grads get to showcase their amazing projects to our employer and our industry partners. All right, back to you, Tyler.
Amazing. Thank you, Wanai. So yes, we at the end of the development bootcamp, we allow the students to share their projects, and we invite companies similar to the companies that we have joining us here today as guest speakers. In fact, we'll probably be inviting these folks. They don't know it yet, but they're going to be invited to the upcoming pitch days that we will be having at Circuit Stream as well in partnership with Melbourne. So thank you so much, Wanai. That is perfect. Just wanted to share a little bit of our career support information through Circuit Stream here and through the university. And now, without further ado, I am going to officially welcome Robert Walkley on stage. I mentioned before, Robert is the Chief Technology Officer at Hipster Whale. He's going to be joined by some of his team members today. We have... I had their names written down before. I'm going to let him introduce them because he's got some proper slides at this point that he can introduce everybody here. But welcome, Rob.
Hi, my name is Rob Walkley. I'm the CTO at Hipster Whale. And we have Shane, a level designer, Shane.
Alice, one of them.
A 3D artist. And on the other call from home is...
Hey, I'm Alice, the other one. Walsh, an art director at Hipster Whale.
Perfect.
So I'll just sort of do a bit more of a formal introduction. So Alice, if you could just sort of introduce yourself a little bit more about your background and experience.
Yep, so I've been working in the games and animation industries for about 7 years. You can see everything I've worked on the screen right now. But notably, Bluey was a really big experience for me. And I've worked on a variety of different types of games in my career.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry. And Shane?
So I've been kicking around for a while. I've been working in games for 17 years. A few highlights of that on the screen right now. In that time, worked across a wide range of fields from indie to AAA to serious games, and done some teaching and other stuff in there as well.
Okay, thanks, Shane. And we have Alice.
Hey, I have a little bit of experience. I'm a recent addition to the games industry in Australia, and I've been kicking around between Adelaide and Melbourne in sort of like bigger studios and in the indie scene.
Thanks. It's great. We've got a good mix of experience here. So it wasn't just me, the dinosaur, talking. My name's Rob. I've got 26 years of experience. I've worked in the Australian, UK and US industries. And I've worked on amongst teams big and small on hardware as all the way from like Game Boy, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, all the way through most major consoles and PC, and now I'm at Hipster Whale. We're the developers of Crossy Road and Crossy Road Castle, Piffle, and Pac-Man 256. I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit, but this is the company. So Hipster Whale was founded in 2014 by a University of Melbourne graduate, actually, Andy Sum, as well as Matthew Hall, who had been in the games industry for several years. And so they made a little game in 6 weeks, a little game demo called Crossy Road. They had worked on some other games previously, Matt had success in mobile previously. They made this little demo in 6 weeks, and they're like, yeah, we kind of like where this is going. We might spend another 6 weeks on this. And then it ended up being a global smash. And nearly a decade later, and over 500 million players later, we're a company of about 35 people. We celebrate our 10th anniversary next year. We worked on Crossy Road, Disney Crossy Road, Pac-Man 256, Piffle, and Crossy Road Castle, which is for Apple Arcade. And so that's on Apple TV, iPad, iOS, and all Apple devices. And so we'll do this like a little mini panel. I might just I'll ask a broad question to each of my workmates, and we'll see how it goes. Pretty informal, so apologies for the informality. But yeah, so we might start with why we love making games. Alice?
Yeah, I sort of really like the interactive medium of games, especially coming from a background of traditional and 2D art. Leaping into the third dimension and then seeing it be in a world was really, really cool to me. Just sort of seeing all of my stuff become part of a bigger picture and just sort of playing around with it. I don't know, just the concept of it is really cool to me.
Yeah, cool. Shane?
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of reasons, but the main one, the thing that will never get old for me is especially as a designer, getting to see someone else play something you've made. You spend all your time making this little thing and you're sort of in your own world, but then getting to see someone else take that and enjoy it and see their reactions to it. That's the best thing about working in games.
Yeah, cheers. And Alice? Other Alice?
Yep. For me, it's a little bit funny. I was kind of the kind of person that watched games over my brother's shoulder. So I didn't really come from a place of being absolutely in love with games, but I came from a place of being in love with 2D art at the start and just loving the craft. And I just wanted to figure out a way to make it my job. And it's extra cool when, your teammates have it come to life in 3D or with programming. And yeah, seeing something that you designed moving and living in a game. That's really cool.
Yeah, I love being at the intersection of art and technology. I think it's a really interesting space. Both the creative and the technical really interest me. And I love just working with so many talented people with so many different skills that they can bring to the table. And I've been a lifelong gamer as well. So I'm extremely fortunate. So the next question, how do we start making games? So we'll go back to Alice. How did you start making games?
Yeah, I mean, since I'm sort of recent addition to the industry, I started a lot in my high school and uni career going hey, games are pretty cool and I like doing art. Going to university, meeting a whole bunch of people like-minded and sort of making a bunch of games, just smacking some stuff together, feeling it out, seeing how it goes. And then after about 2 years of uni, just making games and game jams, applied to a graduate program at Mighty Kingdom. And after an art test and a few interviews, I was in and fell in love with it.
Awesome. Shane?
Yeah, so I sort of started as a hobbyist back in the 90s, just making mods myself before I even really knew that games was a career. So just pulling apart things like Doom and Quake and Unreal Tournament and stuff like that, and just kind of doing it for fun. And then sort of years later, finding out that you could actually do this for a living. And so all that sort of hobbyist mod work is kind of what got me kick-started in my career.
Yeah, nice. And Alice?
Yeah, I just graduated from an animation degree because that was the only thing artistic you could really do in Queensland, where I'm from. And as soon as I graduated, I moved down to Victoria thinking that was the place to be. Worked a retail job for a little while before I landed my first gig, which it was a studio who made mashups of racing and slots or Farmville and slots or Arena Brawler and slots. So not the most glamorous thing. But yeah, working that job for about 2 years with the financial security of the gambling industry behind it let me basically be paid to learn a whole bunch and learn to work on a team. And yeah, got to basically learn how to design things so that they could be interpreted into 3D and rigged and, you know, made really functional.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I got my start way back in 1997. I remember I was always interested in drawing and art and animation, and I was a big Nintendo fanboy. And there was an event called Interact 96, and for the first time I saw 3D art being created on a normal computer. And it was like, wow, so that was Lightwave 3D. And then I rushed home and found a copy of Lightwave 3D and started teaching myself that. And so I sort of was building a folio in high school, creating 3D art and animation. And so I actually started my career as an artist. So the first 2 years of my career was an artist, and then I wanted to make a game, and I didn't have the money to pay a programmer to code it. So I started teaching myself to code as well. So a couple of years into my career, I switched to being a programmer. So I've been a programmer ever since. Okay, so the next one. How do we actually join the industry? So I guess this is more specific about like how you went about applying and, you know, what sort of, you know, what you were armed with and what you think got you the job.
Yeah, I mean, straight out of uni, while I was still studying and just after I graduated, I was actively applying to positions because I didn't really care if I was, you know, if I had the qualifications. I was like, hey, whatever, maybe I'll get something. So I just sent out my applications and my folios and everything. Looking back on it, was written so terribly. But eventually was notified of the Mighty Kingdom graduate program, and then was like, okay, sure. Let's give this one a go as well. So wrote up a cover letter, got my CV together, etc., sent it over. And then in the artist sphere specifically, you're usually asked to do an art test. So I was just like, okay, got to research the heck out of this. So I did a bunch of research beforehand, did that whole shtick, went in, and just been going ever since.
Cool. Shane?
Yeah, again, for me, it was all of the sort of mod work that I did prior to the end to my like professional work, which might seem less relevant these days, but I think it's still pretty relevant. Like there's still a lot of ways that you can like teach yourself to make things just by playing around with like existing games. Skyrim and Minecraft are big ones these days. But yeah, for me, it was like back at late 90s, early 2000s, there wasn't really a lot in the way of games education specifically. So most people getting their first jobs around that time, it was just kind of off our own back. My first job was as a level designer because of my Unreal Tournament work specifically. And the other two level designers who got hired at the same time, one got the job because of Half-Life mods that he had made, and the other one got the job because of Oblivion mods that he made. So it was all just make stuff, prove you can do the thing, and that's pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, cool. It's just a cold application, or was it through?
I'd actually, for that first job, like I heard about the opening through like a connection that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So like it wasn't like an openly advertised job or anything like that. They were just looking for someone. And so yeah, that's the other good thing about like doing mod stuff is that you meet people and you get connections and stuff, as well as building the technical skills.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. We'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, the networking and you know, yeah, getting to know other people in the game development community, because I think it is quite helpful, quite important. Alice?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty similar for the networking thing. Like most of the jobs that I've gotten have been through knowing someone, not through applying to an application. So yeah, I would say like part of the reason that I got the job on Bluey was I went to uni with the people who were working on it, and they knew my reputation and they knew, you know, what I was capable of. So I'd say that's a super important thing for you prospective game designers and creators, just be a really cool person to do a uni assignment with and work on your soft skills a whole bunch.
And I think it's, a lot of people cynically say, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I don't really think it's quite like that, Like, I think, there's a lot of people I know that I think are great and are good friends of mine, but I wouldn't hire them. So, it's a matter of like knowing someone that you can trust, and you're like, oh, they're really good, and developing a reputation for creating good work and being trustworthy and people you want to work with. So, it's not some sort of closed doors type of thing. It's really just a matter of getting out there and people learning what you're about, and that does become really helpful over time. But it starts with great work and being good at what you do, in my opinion.
And I think coming down from Queensland for me personally, like I had to do a lot of work going to events like GCAP and Hopper Garden to try and like build up a little bit of it sounds so cynical if you say like a network, but honestly just having friendly conversations with people who were doing the stuff that I wanted to do, not asking for a job, just asking for some advice or a portfolio review. And then eventually, like if you're in front of them often enough, they'll think of you next time there's a job opening.
Yeah, and it just comes natural if you're like interested in games and game development and game developers. You just develop friendships over time and get to know people and take an interest in their developing careers and stuff. And then I've found myself that all of my jobs have been sort of come through other people I've worked with in the past who've gone on to other places and then recommended me. So this one we'll talk about is how we hire at Hipster Wales. So it's a little bit different depending on the discipline. So I'll start a little bit talking about the engineering team. With the engineering team, we have a multi-stage process. So we have a programming test, and then we try to simulate what it's like to work at Hipster Whale, and so we try to make the activities in the application be simulations of the sort of things we would do day to day. So we have a technical design challenge where we'll give someone a brief of something that we'd normally like someone to do day to day. So we'll describe that verbally, and then ask the candidate to go away for 3/4 of an hour and do a little bit of research and come back and communicate to us how they would solve that idea or how they'd think about solving that idea. And so that allows us to see how people think, how they communicate their ideas to us. So they could take form of some pseudocode or some diagrams, or it could be verbal, or it could be drawings. So it just gives us an opportunity to see how people are able to articulate their thoughts. We have an engineering interview with the engineering team. And so we'll ask a lot of fundamental questions about the basics of developing games. And then we have an interview with the rest of the team. So we don't want to form monocultures within the company. We don't want the engineering team to be their own little clique. So we make sure that everyone across the studio is enthusiastic before we hire. So we want to make sure that they get along great with artists and designers and QA and all the rest of our studio. So across all disciplines, we'll only hire if the bar we set for ourselves is we want to be excited about the hire. So we want to be like, yeah, I'd love to work with that person. If it's a line ball, we tend to opt for a no, because the opportunity cost of taking on someone that won't work out is we don't always hire every great person we see. So we know that some people will slip through, but we do know when we do hire, we're really excited and we have a really high degree of success with those we do hire. So I might throw a little bit to the other disciplines. So this might throw this one to you, Alice, about hiring in the art team.
I've recently gone through this process just about 2 months ago, so I can speak to that. I think definitely it helps at the beginning to have quite a lot of evidence of what you can do online and a really, really good portfolio, including not only just the finished product, but each step along the way and how practical that can be, or how it can be applied to a potential project that, you know, a studio is looking to hire for. So to get down to real basics, that means if you're a concept artist, making concept art, not just illustration, and making things that are useful to a company. So that's super important, probably more important than a resume, yeah, I mean, the portfolio is the most important part, and then getting your interview, you've got a few of those to go through. I had to do an art test as well, just to double check that my art could be applied to the in-house style, and that I could, you know, not be stuck in my own style and be able to work in something different. And yeah, like I said, then there's a, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Oh, and that it's your art. You know, that's one of the
true.
things we get, right? That's why we sort of
yeah.
Test, yeah.
These days, I mean, you could fill your portfolio with AI, but you'll probably be found out.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane.
Yeah, so pretty similar. There's definitely commonalities in the hiring process across every discipline here, but so we only have a few designers here, so I kind of only could compare it to my experience when I was getting hired here. But in addition to everything Alice was just saying, like, for a designer, it can be often hard to show off your skills, which is why having something tangible, something finished that you've made is so important, because you can just point to it and go, I made that thing, which is in some ways a lot easier for like an engineer or an artist or whatever. Which is why I kind of like think that modding is still a pretty good avenue for designers, because then you don't have to like make a game from scratch or whatever. When I applied for this job, I was asked to provide like some video gameplay footage of something that I had made, which again, because like design is such a difficult thing to convey in like a portfolio or something like that, just having a video playthrough of something that I had made, you can immediately see what's going on there. And I also did a design test where I was asked to get ahead of time familiar with the game that I'd be making content for. And then during the test, I had to design a bunch of levels for that game. And afterwards, there was then a discussion to like explain my understanding and my decision making and my reasoning and all that kind of stuff, to demonstrate that I actually understood the thing that I was making, not just guessing or, you know, stabbing in the dark or whatever.
Yeah, cheers. And then I'll throw to you, Alice, for this next question. So any helpful advice for newcomers, since you're the most recent newcomer?
Yes, definitely. One top one that's already been discussed is that your soft skills are as important as your technical skills. Like, you can be really good at what you do, but since this is a very team-based industry, if you're difficult to work with, it'll cause more problems in the project than you'd assume. So just having sort of the qualities of being open to discussion, being understanding of other people, and having a sense of humility. Like, you're not the best at everything, even if you're very good. Other people can also have really good ideas. So just not being an arrogant person helps a lot with sort of getting everything stretched out to where you want it to be. And if you're looking to go into studio work, having imposter syndrome is a thing that everyone has, but not letting it get to you is really important, because out of all the jobs I've applied for and had interviews with, I didn't meet all of the qualifications on the job application. And learning on the job is a much more common concept than I thought it was going to be. No matter where you go, there's a heap of things that you're just going to discover when you go there. So having that sort of open-mindedness to, hey, I don't fully fit this, but I'm willing to learn, is really, really good. Like, even for Hipster Whale, I didn't meet every single like qualification, and I'm here. So yeah, there's a lot of learning to be done. And there was another one. Yes, if you're considering indie, looking at the local funding schemes in your state can be very useful, because spending time on a game without the proper funding can be a little bit demoralizing sometimes. I know that there's a funding scheme in Victoria and Adelaide, but I'm not sure for other states, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a really good point about when you look at a job ad, you'll see a list of requirements, but really it's a wish list, and it's really a way for the employer to try to sort of make sure they're like focusing appropriately for what they're hiring for. But really, an employer is looking to be able to trust that someone can do the job. So if you have alternate experience or some way to show that you can do the job, then that's fantastic. So I wouldn't be too dismayed by, X number of years of experience or X qualification. It's really showing that you can actually do the job. So, you can get a leg up on people who've got a lot more experience if you have an amazing demo or an amazing folio, because that's just indisputable proof that you can do the job. So I remember a junior programmer had some helicopter demo and he had a complete playable game. And I was like, that's worth its weight in gold. And you'd be surprised at how rare it is that actually people have something concrete and tangible to show. So it really does give you a leg up over people who expect to be able to get jobs with just their resume or, a document. I mean, we have to then fill in all those blanks and have to find that you can do the job. But if, the wonderful thing about this industry is that you can show something concrete. Alice, other Alice?
Yeah, I've got a few little dot points. I would say knowing the Australian industry is kind of important, and something that I didn't anticipate myself. Just knowing that Australian wages are really expensive, and so your first gig might not be an overseas gig because companies are hesitant to trust a fresh grad from overseas. So knowing the Aussie industry and knowing that we're small and we tend to wear a lot of hats can be really helpful, and knowing a little bit about the pipeline before you and the pipeline after you and making little projects can, again, help a company to really trust that you're a good investment. I'd say soft skills are mega important. Working on your craft can be really, really siloed, but creative industries are basically a never-ending group project. So any opportunity you can get to work on a game jam or, organize a get-together for your fellow programmers or artists, or even host a house party is super important and will probably do tons for your career.
Yeah, cool. Cheers. Shane, do you have any advice for newcomers?
Yeah, I do. A few things. And the first one I've kind of already sort of said in a few different ways already, but just make stuff. But in addition to that, don't give up. Don't get demoralized and be flexible. I used to work in games education at a couple of different places a few years ago, and it was so common to see people graduate, apply for the one or two jobs that were there at the exact moment that they graduated, not get those jobs, and then give up. That's a bit of an unreasonable expectation that the moment you graduate, the perfect job is just going to be sitting there waiting for you. So kind of expect to not get lucky the first time and just keep making stuff, because it's the stuff that you make that will get you your job. So if you just keep doing that under your own steam and just keep doing it, you'll just keep increasing your chances of getting something.
Yeah, the benefits of producing good work and having it to demo or show is just are so invaluable. The thing about it, one of the little secrets about interviewers is often they're just as nervous as the interviewee and not necessarily fantastic at it themselves, and they're looking for something to talk about. And so if you don't have something substantive to show, then what will happen is the conversation will swing towards the experience of the interviewer, and so the ball won't be in your court. So they'll be asking questions that sort of tend subconsciously to be related to their own experience. And that's not where you are at your strength. So if you have your own work, you'll find that often that will become the topic of conversation. And that's fantastic, because that's the thing that you have experience with and that you can talk about, and you can share your lessons and of what went great, what went wrong, how you would improve. So I think, if there was only one thing I could say, is just lead with great work and just create real concrete stuff, and you'll learn so much in the process, and it will help with any application that you have. So finally, we'll just take questions if anyone has any questions, or if you have any questions for us, Tyler.
Well, actually, what I'll do, we're going to do a quick little Q&A portion at the end of the event here as well. And so I can see, Alice, you're already proactive and on it and answering some of the questions in the chat, or in the questions tab, which is perfect. But we'll probably highlight some of those at the end as well. So if anybody else has questions for anybody on stage right now, go ahead and just pop them into the questions tab. And then in a few minutes, we have another speaker who's going to be joining us in just a moment here. But in a few minutes after that, we will do some Q&A at the end and answer everybody's questions there. But thank you so much to all of you. This was amazing advice. Obviously, we try and lean on some of the same principles. Network as much as you can, build as many projects as you can when you're going through a course. Advice we often give to students is, build terrible games while you're going through the course. Build horrible games and then send them to people and get advice from them, and get horrible feedback. And it's such an important process to learning how to develop and design in this world. So. And just the shout out to the Unreal Tournament. I put it in the chat there too, but you mentioned, did you say you worked on Unreal Tournament, or you were?
No. That was like the mods that I made for it is what got me my first job.
That was I probably would have been there if I'd kept going with it, but Unreal Tournament was my favorite game in 2000. And I had just started playing around with level design and creating things. And then I kind of stepped away from it for a few years, but just as soon as I hear Unreal Tournament, it brings back the nostalgia for me. So thank you so much. I'll get you guys to hop off the stage here for a few minutes. We'll have our other guest speaker pop up in just a moment, and then I'll invite everybody back up. But thank you. This was amazing. All right, I'm going to close this one here. Now everybody can see me again. I should share the presentation. Here we go. So let's put that back up. You don't need to see my face that big. So thank you again, Rob. Our second main speaker here for today is Derek Johnson. Derek is the lead programmer at Tantalus Studios. He is Australian by way of England and has been in the games industry for over 28 years. So without further ado, I will invite Derek up on stage to share his presentation with everybody as well. Perfect. There we go. Hi, Derek.
Hi, how you going, everyone?
Good. Good. I'll make mine smaller so we can share yours up here too.
Okay. So hopefully you can see my presentation. Great. Okay, right. Well, thanks for that introduction. I'll just go over rehash over some of the stuff that Tyler just went through. So my name's Derek. I come from England originally, and I decided in 2008 to come over to Australia just in time for the GFC. So, great timing there. I have worked for 28 years in the games industry. I've worked on practically every sort of genre of game you can think of. So I've worked on driving games, I've worked on RTSs, I've worked on RPGs, I've worked on, you name it, I've probably worked on it. I've even worked on a pony game, which I don't know how you'd categorize that, but that's one of the more unusual sort of games I've worked on. So I'm a lead programmer at Tantalus Studios. And Tantalus Studios is part of a greater group called Keyword Studios. Keyword Studios, a group of 77 studios across the world, provide all sorts of different types of services like localization services, art services, programming services, pretty much anything connected with the games industry. I think it was about 2 years ago now, Tantalus was bought out by Keywords, and Keywords Studios was formed. So Keywords Studios Australia was formed. So these are, as you can see, some of the titles that Keywords Australia has worked on. So going from left to right, this is Stellaris. We've worked on Skyward Sword, Zelda Skyward Sword. I haven't a clue which game that one is. It's probably not one that we worked in our studios. And then we've got games like the Age of Empires franchise, and also City Skylines. So a little bit more about Tantalus Media. We're now about 70 odd people now. I think that's a bit out of date now. It's saying 60 team members, but I think we're about 70 people now. Tantalus has been around as long as I have been, so it's quite interesting. I wasn't quite aware of that previously, and as you can see, this is mostly like a publicity kind of slide that I totally nicked. But as you can see, what I really want to draw your attention to is the clients that we have on the bottom right corner. So our biggest clients are Nintendo, Microsoft, EA, and we've also done some work for 2K, Paradox, and Square. But having that sort of caliber of client means that we are a very stable company. We are one of the few companies that survived the GFC. There aren't that many studios around Australia now that are the same age as ours. So what it does mean is that Tantalus is, if you ever came to work for us, Tantalus is the sort of company you'd want to come to work at if you wanted really stimulating kind of jobs to work on, really stimulating games. But not only that, but you could probably have a mortgage and not worry too much about losing your job, hopefully. That's always been a bit of an issue in the games industry, has been stability over the years. So we're probably about as stable as it gets. So these are some of the recent hits at Tantalus. So again, I've already talked about Skyward Sword for Zelda, which is like, one of those dream come true type of projects you get to work on. I had the pleasure of going over to Osaka, Japan, and actually going to Nintendo Studios and meeting some of my heroes during the course of that project. So that was quite a highlight. We also converted Stellaris to console, and for the first time, really, we had a go at controlling an RTS type game through a controller. If you think about it, that's quite the challenge. And we did actually a pretty good stab at that. People generally received that really well. And we have been doing all the updates of Stellaris up till fairly recently. We also worked with Microsoft on the Age of Empire reboots. So we have actually worked on Age of Empires 1 as well as 2 and 3 and doing the reboots of those. We've also done some work on supporting Age of Empires 4. These are some of the past games that we've worked on. So I worked on Mass Effect 3, which was just such a blast. That was such a great project to work on, collaborating with some really clever people. Just seeing how they actually did it was and develop and unfold over time was something that was just really interesting to see. Of course, we have already mentioned City Skylines, and we also did Zelda Twilight Princess as well, HD version. So that and the other Zelda game were games that we ported onto the Switch. So this is sort of programmer biased, I know, and some of you probably aren't programmers, but I think even so, some of what I'm about to go through should be of use or help to you, I hope so. And if not, then please ask some questions and I'll see if I can answer them for you. So really, I'm going to be talking about how you maximize your chances of actually getting into the games industry, because it is not a straightforward thing to do. It's not like you go and get qualified, or you have relevant degrees or relevant whatever, and you just apply and get in. It's a lot more difficult than that, as has been alluded to already. So how did I get in? Well, I did a sandwich year out from my degree. I worked for Manchester Fire Service in the UK, and I absolutely hated that job. It was the worst of desk jobs that you can imagine. You dealt with some very unpleasant people. You did exceedingly boring work. I was just bored out of my brain. I really didn't do a particularly good job there because I just wasn't motivated, interested, excited, anything like that. And I really didn't know what I was going to do when my degree was going to finish. So 6 months away from finishing my degree and me sort of in a mild panic, I talked to a friend of mine who was in a year above me. My friend was already working at a company called Digital Image Design, who worked on flight sims. And he had spent his entire life looking to get into the games industry. Now, back in early 90s, this was not considered a serious job at all. And not all the lecturers took him seriously. Certainly none of the other student friends took him seriously, thought it was a pie in the sky dream job that you would do, and he didn't have a chance. But he worked exceedingly hard and he did all the right things. I really did all the wrong things. So he applied himself to what he wanted to do. I just really fell into it. So he said, well, we're really desperate for graduate programmers at the moment. Would you be interested in applying? And I said, well, yeah, I'm not doing anything else, so why don't I give it a go, see what happens. I just happened to have good demos, and that's really the only reason I got in, that and knowing a friend. So as I did my course, I was quite interested in computer graphics and things like that, even though, again, computer graphics at the time was something that was really frowned upon and not considered serious work. So I'd actually done some demos on the sides. I'd had a particularly good demo of Phong shader. Now, back in the day, Phong shaders were not the sort of thing that people knew a lot about. And in fact, you had to read papers and go to the library books, because we had no internet back then, you have to remember, and work out how these things worked. And I was just fascinated by these sorts of things. And so I wrote a real-time renderer that did some different things like, Phong shading, and it did some it did Guro shading and other things like that, and showed this off to the person that was interviewing me, and their jaw dropped, which I wasn't really expecting to happen, and they hired me on the spot. So I think it's fair to say I was very, very, very lucky. This is not the way I would go about starting your career or trying to get into the games industry. I think we've shown that this is probably not the best of paths to take. So really, I'll go back to the importance of demos. And this is something now I think has become a must-have. If you're considering applying for a gaming job, and a programmer or an artist, it's a portfolio. Programmers, it's demos of something of interest, relevant. So the most people that we interview don't have demos. And so if we are interviewing 10 people and like 2 of them have demos, well, we're going to focus on the 2 people who got demos, provided they're any good, of course. And that probably eliminates you pretty quickly. And that's not a place you want to be in. So it absolutely puts you out there as a standout applicant, and we're probably going to look and ask questions and be interested in. And as previously mentioned in the last talk, if you don't have a demo, then the interview kind of can go a bit wonky and not in the direction you actually want it to go. And, you know, interviewers are sort of searching for points of interest that they can talk to you about. You've got a demo, you've got a point of interest to get in. It's a really good foot in the door type tactic. So it also shows an employer that you're committed to your chosen profession. To be a games programmer, you need to be absolutely dedicated. And by that, I mean that you love games, that you have a great interest in examining all that's out there in terms of taking ideas and converting them into games and putting them in games and things like this. You know, I'm not going to say that you need to live, breathe, and everything games. I think that probably sends you a bit the other way. But certainly, it has to be something you have a great interest in. And by doing demos, which is something extra on top of whatever curriculum you're doing or what day job you're doing, it shows that you have a will, a want to be part of this industry. It also shows you're willing to learn. And again, I can't emphasize enough just how important that is for someone who works in the games industry. You won't always be able to get the attention of your lead or another senior programmer to help you out with something. You have to have a bit of self-reliance about you. You have to be able to research things without someone else telling you where to go. You have to be able to come up with solutions. And although obviously if you're particularly inexperienced, you'll get more attention and things like that. But really the sort of, if we're going to hire an applicant and that applicant has already shown that they can actually do a lot of work off their own back without needing constant supervision, well, then you're going to be ahead of the game. Take responsibility for your education. So this is definitely something I didn't do. I spent too much time drinking beer and partying, if I'm totally frank with you. In fact, I should tell you that as soon as I got my job on the spot 6 months before my degree finished, that's all I did, because I thought, well, I don't need to worry about my degree anymore. I've got a job, which is really a responsible way of going about things. I mean, what can I say? I was in my early 20s then. One of the things that is true back then, and it's true now, is that you really should read around subjects that you're interested in. So you don't need to know absolutely everything about games, but surely there's something, whether it be AI, graphics, you know, tools, whatever it is that you're interested in, and you should spend some time on the internet looking into things. You've got things so much easier than I had it, you know, because there was no internet. You basically had to go into a stuffy library, look through hundreds of books until you actually found the relevant information you were interested in, or you had to decipher some paper from some sub-lecturer somewhere that really spent a lot of time trying to decipher. So that was the only way we actually learned anything. Now you have the internet with YouTube and things like this. So there's really no excuse not to learn. You also got great resources from the big players like Microsoft, Havoc, NVIDIA, Intel. So you can get SDKs, tools, you get written written up helpers on how to do this, that, and the other. Microsoft, you get Visual Studios, of course, for free, particularly if you're a student. Havoc will have tests and sort of demos for you to look at, which utilizes their physics systems and things like this, and you can learn a lot from that. NVIDIA has everything from graphics SDKs all the way through to AI SDKs now. So they have all sorts of learning material. And if you're really interested in CPUs, which is where I started from, very low level kind of coding, well then Intel also have a lot of stuff on profiling tools and SDKs that allow you to do a lot of things that specifically deal with silicon. Unreal and Unity. I guess it goes without saying that if you're interested in games programming, you probably know a little bit about one or two of these platforms. But the reason why I bring them up is that when I had to put demos together, well, I had to actually write a lot of code before I could even write a demo. So I'm talking about things like file control systems, memory control systems, UI systems. So there was a lot of groundwork you had to do before you could even write a demo, really. That's not the case anymore. Unreal and Unity do it all for you. And so you can concentrate on creating and producing something interesting. You can use them to demonstrate some AI neural thing that you're interested in. You can use it as a driver for exploring some graphical concepts. Maybe you want to do some sort of cool water simulation. You have an idea for taking it the next step along, or learning pretty much anything you want to learn that is game oriented. And this is all very true of artists as well. Clearly Unreal and Unity give you for free, and that's a big deal, give you a platform for actually exploring a lot of ideas. Treat your education as if it's your job. Now, I feel a bit odd about saying this because I most certainly did not treat my education as my job. But if you're not spending 2 to 3 hours a day doing work outside, say, a day job, or say what you're doing at uni, then you kind of ask yourself why you aren't. No one's saying that you need to spend 9 hours a day glued to a keyboard doing stuff. Certainly not that, but you should set aside some time every single day to learn your craft. Socialize more. And this is particularly important for programmers because I know what you're all like. I am very unusual. I'm a social programmer. I don't have any issues talking to people. I find that part of it quite easy. A lot of programmers don't. If you're a programmer that sits in a bedroom all day, never sees the light, then you're not really going to make a good job of things when you come and work in this industry, because it is absolutely vital that you're able to communicate clearly, effectively, that you are nice. So we go back to things like soft skills. When I started out in the industry, the vast majority of people were employed as teenagers who had done nothing else in their life but lived in their bedroom coding games. And they had no social skills whatsoever, which meant that there were a lot of fights. No one really liked anyone, and no one wanted to cooperate, and everything turned into a big mess because of it. And that's pretty much every project in those days. So nowadays, we expect a lot more. We expect you to be able to be a functioning member of society. So if you're not a social type of person, then join clubs, get out more, play games with people that aren't necessarily computer games. Do the social thing. Treat that as just as important as learning a new algorithm or something. It is something that we look out for, most definitely. So, getting the job. Tests. I hate tests. And I think you'd be mad if you did like them. I can't really give you much help here because every company studio does something different. But yeah, the worst sort of tests, really, to my mind, are the ones that basically expect you to memorize something like the plane equation, spit it out and do some work with it or whatever. Things like that don't interest me personally. What I'm interested in is people who can apply what they know. So an example of this would be, well, do you know what a cross product is? I don't need to know how you mathematically calculate a cross product. I just need to know that you know what one is. And I would want to know, if you do know, what you would apply a cross product to. So you can see where I'll be going with those sort of questions and things in a test. I would be looking really to see whether you know your craft. I have done some awful tests and I have failed tests, even with the experience that I have. So, yeah, I think the good companies have good tests, and those are probably the places you want to work at anyway. And the ones that you fail at, probably not the places you probably want to work at anyway, because I think they're probably testing for the wrong things. Interviews, or in other words, for God's sakes, be on time. The amount of people that have turned up late to interviews, and given that the fact we get a lot of people through the doors, it is going to be a big red mark on you, and we're probably going to toss you out straight from the off, because we can. So, I would suggest getting, half an hour early to any interview, and if you need to, sit in a coffee shop outside before you actually, and get some, or maybe not get some coffee, because you might get a bit wired and you wouldn't want that in the interview, but whatever, do something, and arrive at the interview, on time. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit early, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes early, just do not be late. Interviews are obviously very nerve-wracking things. I think the most important thing to remember at interview is it's your opportunity to show off what you know, and to show off just how clever you are, because there's no way you would have got an interview in the first place if you weren't those things. So show off just what an interesting person you are. Show off things you can do, like say if you can ride horses or something like that. Talk about that. Talk about anything that shows people just what an interesting person you are. And like I say, from a technical point of view, just show off what you know. Typical questions I ask. So obviously, some of them are pretty straightforward in that I ask, well, what games do you like playing? When did you start playing games? I'll ask technical questions along the lines that I've just been talking about. So, cross products, plane equations, dot products from a sort of, which encompasses things like computer graphics, but also things like geometry calculus and things like that. So I get technical, ask some C questions probably, just to see if you've got some understanding. I never ever look for correct answers. I usually look for good answers or better answers, really. I try not to trap people into making, a right or wrong answer. Not interested in that. I'm just interested in just what you know and how you express yourself. And like I say, how good your social skills are. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with sort of working abroad. And that's obviously something I've done, so I have some experience in this. I probably wouldn't have been able to do this, come and work abroad, until I'd actually gained some experience. By the time I did move abroad, I had quite a few years behind me. So was it 2008? So 13 years experience at that point. You can go abroad with much less experience than that. I think it's one of the things I would say is it's extremely important that you actually go and check out the country you're thinking of going to live in first, and quite extensively as well, because there is a culture shock. There is a difference the way we work. The way we work in Australia is very different to the way we work in England, for example. And so you have to make sure the culture is a right fit for you before you even think about finding a good company to work at. But like I say, once you've got a few years experience behind you, there's no reason why you can't look for opportunities abroad. There is a time limit on this though, because of things like PR and visas and other things like that. You probably, once you get into your 40s, it's starting to get a bit dicey. So if you want to do this, then do it before you get too far into your 40s. I moved when I was 35. It was a good age for me to move. But the sky's your limit, it really is. Once you get into the games industry, the sky's the limit. People I've worked with in the past, one of them's now VP at Intel. Got friends who work at NVIDIA, quite high up places. One of my friends is one of the senior technology people at Rockstar North, and so he's been exceedingly successful. I have friends all around the world who have, had their own successes, now own their own games companies, all sorts of things. Most of them have made a hell of a lot more money than me. I'm still a lead programmer. I'm not a CTO or anything like that, but I'm quite happy where I am anyway. And so that ends my talk. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Derek. I love seeing the overlap of advice from both companies. And I love even more that it's in line with the advice that we try and provide to students on our end as well. I put in the chat here, networking, having good demos, don't give up. But we kind of saw a lot of this messaging mirrored. So thank you so much, Derek. I'm going to invite you back up in just a couple minutes. It's only actually going to take me about a minute or so here. I'm going to share some of the information about the upcoming start dates, pricing, all that kind of fun stuff. If anybody is interested in looking at the upcoming cohort dates that we have here. So let me just put this up. Pricing's always top of mind for people, so I like to share that right away if you're interested in looking at taking the course. So we actually have a special attendee offer too, I should mention. It is a once a year November special promotion that's running on right now. So actually all three of the courses, you can see we have the XR development with Unity course. We have both the development and starter package. We have advanced and starter packages, but we've got the different. So basically, the first one's going to show you the price for either the development or the design starter package. The second line is going to show you the price for the development or design plus package, and these are both for the XR. And then the bottom one there is the 30-week Unity game development bootcamp, which was the main focus of today's presentation. So those are the pricing structures there. We also have payment plans available. If you have any questions about that kind of information, or if you're curious to get registered in that sense, just reach out to the team here and let us know. We can provide more information. The admissions team can provide more than what I'm doing here and better than what I'm doing right now, is what I mean to say. In terms of the courses, just to give you a quick little visual of how to kind of access the courses, if you have any questions, I did put the syllabus download links into the chat right at the beginning here. You also should have received an email with that too. So feel free to download the syllabus for the game development, have a good look through, see what's included in the course. This one here is for the XR development. So this is the link at the bottom, and this is what the page would look like. Just give you a little arrow there to kind of show you how to download the course outline for that one. Similarly, this is the interaction design and prototyping course. Very similar page setup, of course, just the different course there. And finally, the game development bootcamp. This is what the page would look like if you want to go find information or read more about the course, anything along those lines. And then, oops, click on the right screen here. The upcoming course dates for all three of the courses. So March 18th through the 23rd of May, 2024, that would be the XR development with Unity course. 13th of Feb through the 5th of September is the game development bootcamp. And the 18th of March through the 23rd of May would be the interaction design and prototyping for XR course. So if you're looking at getting registered for the upcoming dates that we have available, those would be the next three cohorts that we have. Apologize, had to clear my throat there. And that's it. I just wanted to share some information with you, let everybody know that we have the November special going on right now, give you some access information for the courses or the syllabus there, syllabi, I should say, for several courses. So reach out to the team here if you have any questions at all. You can book a team. You can go right through circuitstream.com. You can go through the website through University of Melbourne and connect through the course that way. But yeah, just reach out to us. We're happy to assist. And this entire presentation is going to be recorded and sent to everybody. But before we officially finish, we've got some questions in the tab here. I'm going to close the presentation screen here. And I think everybody can come up on stage at once. It might be a little chaotic here for a minute, but everybody come back up. Perfect. Awesome. Hello. I guess it's not that bad. It's only four camera windows. So, and I'll pull up the questions. So I think we did answer some of these questions as we went through. I can't post them if they've been answered, but I'm just going to kind of shout it out really quickly. Alice, I think you answered this one here. The first one is I'm 33 and I'm looking to change my career. Do you think it's too late to switch over, even though I don't have any skills in design or development? My initial answer there, my knee-jerk response is, of course not. It's absolutely not too late. We see students, young students. We see students in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. There's tons of people who are mid-career and looking to make a change and have been wanting to get over into these industries for a really long time. So age certainly isn't a factor in that sense, at least in my opinion. But I'll let everybody else here, the people who are working in this industry, weigh in on this as well. Maybe Alice, go ahead and start, just because you did answer that one.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how much time you can invest. Like, everybody's got different circumstances, and I think the older you get, the more complicated life can get. So that can be a little bit trickier. But you also have the advantage of being older and knowing how to swing things a little bit better and how to organize things, right? So yeah, I think it's really about how much time you can invest into learning the skills and how efficient you can be. That will get you where you need to go.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is that, like, if it is a change of career, like, you are going to be entering as a junior. So in the last year that I taught, one of my students was in his 30s, and he had the same concern. He got a job the first year after he graduated as a junior designer. And, like, I think you just have to understand that if it's your first job in the industry, it is going to be at that kind of position. So that might be jarring if you're coming from, like, a senior position in another industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually with that too, I can add in, we've had several students that have come through looking for career changes, but then they've tied in a little bit of what they were doing previously. I mean, this might be a little bit more on the XR side, I guess, than on the game development side, because it's a little tougher to tie those skills in per se. But for anybody in the audience looking at the XR side, if you're looking at breaking into that industry, the skills can be married into a lot of current careers. So, we have people coming from finance who are using XR development and design in their current finance role or in a similar type of finance role, for example. So just to expand a little bit on that part there. And was there anybody else that wanted to add in on this one before I jump to the next question? Oh, perfect. Okay. Let me put this one. So this one I should be able to share. I'm autistic and have been attempting to enter the programming stream in the game industry for 13 years. I've had a single programming test after 2 degrees and that long. What am I doing wrong? Maybe we can get some advice from people here too.
I can talk a little bit about this, being autistic myself. There's a lot of us that are autistic in the games industry. It's good game programmers, most of them tend to be autistic for some reason, or on the spectrum in some way or another. We have issues with social skills. We have issues with I understand what you're saying about tests as well, because I am hopeless at taking tests. And probably I suspect for the very same reason you do. Certainly I can only talk to talentless and say that if you are or someone has a problem and take a test, let us know. And we can probably work something out. Because at the end of the day, if you're talented and you can do the job that we want you, it's as simple as that. And to have a test be a barrier to that doesn't make much sense to me. So I say let us know about that. You probably want to know a bit more about your situation, so that maybe, but that's all.
Tests tend to be pretty early in the interview process too, so a lot of that's why I'm just a little bit surprised about one test in 13 years, because many companies will have a test before there's any conversations that occur or anything like that. So I would probably look at the cover letter and the actual how you're introducing yourself for the actual application, because I would tend to see that tests are pretty early in the process typically. So I'd probably just look at the cover letter, how you introduce yourself, what you're there for, why you're applying for the company, and personalize it for the company rather than I really like a personalized application that shows that someone cares about the company that they're applying for, and that they're not just spraying resumes. No, I'm not saying that you are, but you know, those are the sort of things that can help win us over. Seeing that you're actually like applying, you know, the reason why you're applying to that particular job.
Yeah, and a big takeaway that I kind of heard from everybody today too is, you know, maybe I don't know what your situation is in terms of what sort of work you're submitting along with your resumes, or if you have any demos or any examples of your work. I know just based on the feedback I heard here today that can take you quite a way, you know, through the interview process, and you know, create a lot more interest around your personal skill set, or kind of what you're capable of doing. So just, you know, to add a little bit more advice, maybe there's a way that you can present yourself a little bit different, or share a little bit more of the work that you're doing, so that you can get through the door a bit easier and get to some more of those tests. Not that we're excited to run towards the testing, but you know what I mean. So I'll close that one. This one's a very easy question. Great workshop. Will this be recorded and the link sent afterwards? Absolutely. Everybody who has registered for this event today will receive a recording right when the event ends. It takes a few minutes to process, but you should receive an email shortly thereafter with the link. And then through CircuitStream, CircuitStream's YouTube, we actually post all of our events as well. It's a little late in the evening for me here in Calgary, so I'm assuming our event will probably be posted on our YouTube channel tomorrow morning. So you can also find it there. What prerequisite subject choices should I choose going into year 11 and 12 to properly prepare for this industry? I'm just going to add in kind of a little bit on the end there.
From my perspective for programming, definitely maths and physics. And any IT/programming classes, but comfort and interest in math and physics is really important as well. They're really, really, really useful tools for a game developer, and it will definitely help give you an edge.
I see lots of nodding. I think it's a general consensus there for that one.
That's just the that's
on
as
the
a
programming side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You
go on, Shane.
Well, I was nodding because I would say it applies to design as well. There's a misconception that design can be a much less technical discipline, but if you don't have at least a basic understanding of maths, it'll make your life so much harder. So maths and physics for design as well, and like, if your high school has psychology subjects, that's good for design as well.
Totally.
Yeah, from an art perspective, I would say obviously like visual art, graphics if your school offers it, because that was great for me. Just learning how to use CAD software was really good. If your school does IT and you have to make a game in IT, just like juice the hell out of the art and make the most of that opportunity, and every opportunity you can outside of school as well, because if you can be making games or modding games on the side, that will hold you in incredibly good stead.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about the Australian education system, being a Brit, so not much use to you there. But obviously, sort of the more sciencey type subjects are where you want to go. I don't know if you do like have computer science type stuff we do in the UK. I mean, that certainly help as well. It's not vital. Programming these days is something that can even be taught on the job. So, yeah, I mean, having an understanding maths is probably for me the biggest one.
Awesome. Okay, and I think this next question we've kind of already answered. It's a little bit of a continuation of the previous one. This was the question on the autism with the tests. It's from the same person there. So I'll just check this one off as done, because I think we kind of went over that one already. Just wanted to make sure I highlighted it there. Are these courses pay up front, or is there a vet or hex fee help? So there's different sorts of options for payment. The admissions team is going to be a lot better and a lot more knowledgeable in that sense to provide the specifics there for you than I can. The easiest way is just to reach out and ask, connect with the team and book a meeting. You can go through CircuitStream's website. Like I said, you can go through the University of Melbourne. If you like, I'm going to put my email in the chat as well. This is just my direct contact email at CircuitStream. Did I spell that right? circuitstream.com. So that's my direct email address. If anybody has any questions or if they're looking for anything after the event today in terms of the pricing and in that sense, you can reach out to me directly as well, and I can connect you with the admissions team. And for everybody else in the chat too, I didn't really prepare any of the speakers. You're probably all going to look at me, but if you guys have LinkedIn profiles or any links handy on your end, feel free to throw them into the chat so people can find you after the event here as well. If not, you have their names. You should have their names up on the screen for you right now, even too. And you can find all of these folks through LinkedIn as well for networking. We spoke about the importance of networking here today. So, and let me take a quick look here. I think we just have one more. How likely do studios offer graduate programs, internships? Is it very often? And where do you find these offers? So before I let the studios jump in, I'll just really quickly say in my role at CircuitStream, I deal with a lot of studios, and every studio is completely different. Some studios have early career programs. Some studios have full internship programs. Some smaller studios, some indie studios don't necessarily have that set up. There's just, opportunities that kind of arise. You might, we do like our pitch day program at the end of the development course, for example, where we invite folks just like the people in the room here today to come and look at the student projects. And through those, sometimes we get contracts or internships offered right away that the studio wasn't advertising for or necessarily looking for until they saw the person in the skill set and decided they wanted them on the team. So that's just a little advice that I have from my side, but I'll let you guys weigh in as well.
Yeah, given the fact that I recently went through a graduate program, unfortunately, they aren't very common anymore. Like, for example, Mighty Kingdom has stopped doing their graduate program recently. However, in my experience in applying to jobs that were even above my qualification level, if they like you enough, they do sometimes offer you a lower level position. There have been times where I applied to a senior position just because I felt like it, and they liked my work enough to consider giving me something more junior or mid. So if you just sort of show yourself properly, sometimes the places you apply for will give you a consideration regardless of the actual title in a job description.
Yeah, I can weigh on this one too. I know that in Australia, you have to pay people for their labour, so unpaid internships are not really a thing, which can be tricky for an indie studio when they don't have a lot of money and they don't want to spend extra money on an untrained person. But I would say what you can do is make the most of being in the university system, because what studios can do is offer you credits in exchange for you being in the building. So if you're in a university degree, you can talk to your course providers and organize something where you can sit and watch and see how it all goes, get some experience. And that happened on the production of Bluey as well, where we were able to give students something back, even though the finances of the actual studio were really tight.
Yeah, just talking from Tantalus, actually, probably more from a keywords point of view. Keywords has always done internships as far as I'm aware. Tantalus hasn't traditionally. I think what you should do, I think we're possibly going to be looking at internships in the future. What you should do is actually just contact them, write an email, say, do you have anything? Are you planning on doing anything? I wouldn't be frightened of just sending off a whole heap of emails to different companies, saying, I'm interested in working in the games industry. Do you have anything you could offer me? I mean, why not? I mean, you're not going to lose anything by doing so. So just get out there, get contacting, networking on LinkedIn, things like that. Just get yourself out there, get yourself about. It's probably the best.
Definitely a case of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So it never hurts to email respectfully, get all your information up in that first email up front. And even if they don't have something, they might know someone who is offering something. So it never, ever hurts to ask.
Yeah, just focus on creating really good work, honestly, because when we have programs of that nature, we can often be overwhelmed with applications, and so the signal to noise ratio is really poor. So if you just focus on getting really good, then that'll help you stand out from the pack. And most companies are looking for talented people all the time. So you create opportunities rather than waiting for them to come out as formal programs. So I would focus on trying to create your own luck in a way in that regard, because when we come across really passionate, talented people, everyone's inclination is to want to try to hire those people.
Absolutely. All right. So I'll close this one here. And then I think we just got another new question that just popped in. I was trying to take a look at it here while we were chatting. Maybe two more actually. But I'll put this one up. If anyone is interested in narrative design in games, is it still a prerequisite to have programming skills? For context, I am a TTRPG designer writer. I'm curious about what kind of work exists in the video game space for someone of my background, and if I need extra training or education.
It's a tough one. So I worked at ArenaNet, and we had about 300 people, and we had about 5, maybe 10 narrative designers. So unfortunately, you're part of a pretty small. There are many fewer opportunities, and so learning other skills are probably a good way to sort of break into the industry and then pivot. Short of that, I would try to essentially work on indie stuff and help build your name within a community. So unfortunately, that might involve working for nothing or volunteering your time, but then maybe you might work on an indie hit, So it can be a long road if you aren't willing to develop more in-demand skills. But often in those niche jobs or more niche jobs, someone will come in being able to be helpful in multiple ways, especially for smaller companies. So it's just, unfortunately, it's like concept artists, narrative designers, they're just audio designers. It's just a smaller pool, unfortunately.
Also, something I'll add to that is that if a job role is listed as a narrative designer, that generally has slightly different implications to if it's just listed as a writer or a games writer or something like that, where in the latter example, there will be more focus on like copywriting, but a narrative designer often implies that there will be technical work involved as well. Maybe not necessarily writing code, but it might involve having to sequence events via some sort of scripting engine or something like that. So it can.
These are much more technical answers than I would be able to give myself. So I appreciate those responses. Thank you. And I'm just, I mentioned this previously as well. I'm going to just throw this into the chat before we jump into the final question here. I put my email up there as well, but I just grabbed the meeting link as well to share in the chat. So if anybody has any questions about the pricing or the start dates or anything at all, you can absolutely email me direct, but you can also just book a meeting with that link below, and it'll take you straight through to an advisor who can share all that information a little bit clearer than I can here. So, and then looks like this is the final one here. What is your advice for people who are self-critical on their demos, projects, works? What do you consider great works? Well, that's a really good question.
Gosh, I mean, the thing is, the very fact that you actually put a demo together in the first place gives you big, thumbs up. So just that in itself is an achievement, and you shouldn't really diss that at all. Second thing is that am I looking to be taken by surprise? Yeah, maybe. Am I looking to see something new? Maybe. But what I'm mostly looking for is just the fact that you can actually apply yourself to something. It doesn't matter if it's something that 100 other people before you have done. There's the very fact that you actually started this from nothing, from base concepts, and you learned something, and you were able to learn something and apply it. That's really what I'm looking for when you're doing a demo. Don't forget, you can't really plagiarize work, because I'll be asking, and I'm sure other people would ask very detailed questions about what you've done, how you went about it, and all that kind of stuff. So you're not going to get away with plagiarizing stuff, but from that point of view, also you don't need to have to come up with something that's brand new that no one's ever seen before either. Just apply yourself to something or a problem you're interested in.
I don't really know that I'd be ever interested in hiring someone who's not self-critical. Being self-critical of your work is actually one of the key components, and being able to articulate how you would do it better, what you didn't do so well. We want people to be honest and upfront about their strengths and weaknesses, and to be able to iterate and improve. And then in terms of what I would consider good or great works, I don't think anyone's expecting demos to be much more than lousy, really. I don't really think you need to raise the level of a great work for it to be meaningful towards an application. Just make tons of bad games, and then you'll just get better over time. Definitely learning to be self-critical is a really key component, and to actually learn how to take feedback from others and use that to be able to improve.
Yeah.
There's oh, sorry, you go, Alice.
I would say also from like a practical perspective of like how can you min-max getting a job, I would look at other portfolios of people who have recently been hired around you. Like you can do some web sleuthing on LinkedIn and check out their portfolio and see like what kind of level they're at, and think like, oh, do I have examples of like all the stages of the development of this prop or like a character or something. You can definitely look to other people and look to companies that you could maybe see yourself working at, and investigate like what kind of quality bar is there.
I was just going to add, there's a very easy trap to fall into that I would caution against, and this is a significant contributor to people not finishing things and not having stuff on their portfolio or demo or whatever, is getting halfway through something and then going, oh, I could do that so much better now, and then starting something else. And you just have this like wake of half-finished things that you never end up showing because you're constantly just starting over. So like, yeah, you'll get better next time or whatever, but like finish the thing first and then move on.
Keep your scope really narrow in your demo as well, or if it's like something that's showing a specialized skill, it doesn't have to be a complete game or anything. As Derek mentioned, if you're a graphics programmer or something, you could show something that zeroes in on that skill, but whatever it is, make sure the scope is really, really narrow. So don't try to make an MMO or something, make Pac-Man or Tetris or Frogger. We've built a great company out of quite narrowly scoped games, polished really, really well.
And the courses that we teach too are all project-based. So a lot of the students that are going through end up working on, projects as a part of the course. Sometimes they take those exact projects once they've completed the course and continue and kind of make their own versions of them. We have lots of students who end up working together. I know we mentioned game jams earlier as well, but we also do those through Circuit Stream. We're going to have some coming up next year too. So just lots of opportunity, I guess, to work with other people and to kind of work on a million different projects and to really like hone in your skills and then have some work to present, in the form of a demo. Even during our pitch days, we actually get the student demo projects, like the group projects. We present them, and then we have each of the students share their particular skill set and what they worked on within that project, so that the employers or the people in the room can kind of understand what the capabilities are of that individual as well. So we basically try and arm you with some of the tools that you would need to go into some of these interviews after you take the courses, basically. So
yeah, group projects are really good to learn how to play nice with others and work in a cross-discipline team. But you do need to be able to show evidence of your own work as well. So sometimes it can be a little bit hard to identify the aspects that a person has done from it. So, or at least be prepared, knowing how to articulate what you as an individual did within that team on that project.
Totally. Yeah. So apply those concepts and still go out and create your own things, make your own bad games, make things on your own so that you have some of your own work for sure to bring in to the interviews too. So, well, that's fantastic. I think that's all the questions we have. I'm just going to have a quick look here and make sure we didn't miss anything. I don't think we did. So thank you to everybody here for joining us today. You're all amazing. You all had amazing information to share with the audience. So I'm sure everybody is grateful there. One final shout out, this entire event will be recorded and sent out to everybody who's registered. So you will get a copy. I've also shared the meeting link there. The final thing in the chat log should be the link you can click if you have any questions. And yeah, look for these lovely folks on LinkedIn. I believe they all have accounts. I think I stole some of the photos from the accounts there for headshots and things. So, but yes, thank you all for joining us here today. This has been amazing, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the next event. So, thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a great day, everybody.